let's get going. Thank you for joining today. We're going to talk about Application Extender and really how to make it even better with ECM Toolbox and a lot of modules that have been created under ECM Toolbox. Specifically, we'll talk today about workflow. I'm going to demo workflow. We'll talk a bit and show a little of eForms, and we'll talk about record retention and some of the other modules. If you come to the CASO site, this is a great page to come to. You'll go into software and you click AppEnhancer, which is ApplicationXtender, and you'll switch over and you come to this page. It tells you about webinars that we have coming up soon, and then it breaks it down and it brings you into different modules here, such as you want to go look at our AX record retention. It does a very good job with that, explaining that with screenshots. If you wanted to go back and later on look at our eForms, we have actual videos in here also, along with screenshots and demonstrations. So I highly recommend leveraging this page whenever possible. We also have really good case studies. This customer has like 1,400 or 1,200 unique users every day going through ApplicationXtender and 500,000 workflow tasks going through there. Different AP solutions, onboarding solutions. And then we have common type of scenarios that clients ask about. So these are really good if you just wanted to go learn more about AX document users and security roles and permissions. It's a great site for that. Okay, so let's get into workflow and talk about that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up just a one page of a PowerPoint. I wanted to just give you an overview or what it looks like for workflow. This is ApplicationXtender, AppEnhancer sitting here in the middle. Right, records can come into AppEnhancer through multiple different methods, whether hard copies or emails being dragged and dropped, web forms or PDF forms. All of them could be ingested. They might stop and with intelligent capture or some other capture software. And once they're inside there, right, people who have the right access and permissions can go see what's happening to that document. Workflow then doesn't move the AX, it just reveals the document and other criteria to different individuals and roles. And it'll be routed based on business rules or perhaps based on a person forward and selecting who they're going to send it to. A lot of times the workflow will update the business application. Workflow might be also pulling information actively from the business application, which would go through AX. We have one customer who is looking to see if there's money available in an account. So in the middle of workflow, we're doing a call over and looking inside there and seeing the money's available before a transaction does occur. So we route it through the whole different levels. Along with the efficiency, and we'll talk more about this, is the ability to track, right? You start viewing, and I'll show you, you can see who has it, who has access to it. So if you get a phone call, your users will be able to go in AX directly and say, oh, I see that's with the vice president. She normally processes her work on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And so then we should get a resolution by Friday. As a manager, you'll be able to see all the tasks all at once. And I'll show you how that works. If you have any questions, just feel free to write them in and we can chat about that as you like to. ECM Toolbox Workflow, single sign-on, normally Active Directory, and your user rights and privileges are going to determine what you can see and what you can do. I've logged in as an admin, so I'm looking at my onboarding workflow, but you'll see that this workflow can be built out and used for accounts payable, contract management. I talked about the one bank that does onboarding, and that's integrated with DocuSign and integrated with SmartIQ and a lot of other business applications, including Salesforce. So for this one, I'm in here as a manager and I'm looking at all of the queues of work. I get to see right away who's working on it. I can filter it. I can see which customers they're working on. I can see the document types. I can take a look and see actually which queue the people are working in. So I'm able to get a real quick view of the work that's available. Some customers have 15 workflow items in the queue. We have one customer that has 1,500, and what they might do is run filters. Maybe they're looking for show me everything that's 10 minutes old and late. So I run my filter, and now I'm down to a smaller list, right? I clear my filter out. The rows will tell me information. Maybe that's going to tell me that is a very important person to work on, or I can have icons here, and these icons can be driven by timers. They can be driven by certain metadata value of the record. So all of this will give you a really quick view and management of the process. And it will also might say, well, you know what, Richard Tamaro is no longer here. I can look to either remove ownership, or I can look to go choose and assign this out to another owner. And then that person will be responsible for taking on that work. So I can balance my load of work also for my individuals. If I want to, I can export this right out to Excel to work with it out of there. It's also available inside of a SQL database. So there's a lot of farming, whether you want to take a snapshot of where you are today, or if you also are looking for bottlenecks and performance. So let's go into it, the workflow itself. If I was an associate, I might log on and only see just the associate review here, okay? I might not see all these other queues, but as manager I am. And I say, okay, well, this is the first task I want to work on. And reminder, this is like an onboarding workflow, so we're going to take a look at it. And the reason why I call that out is because when I open this up, I'm not just going to see one document for this task. This associate wants to be able to see all the records that are related to this employee, because they might have to double check and review all the workflow items that are coming through here, right? And they can take a look at the different records and say, okay, this is the one I want to start working on first. I open it up. I am looking at ApplicationXtender, right? I am not looking, this document didn't move. So all of my permissions and rights that I have with this document are still inside of here for me to work with. Whether I can annotate it or email it, I can only see the records that I can work with. Over on the right-hand side, I have the ability to see targeted metadata for this role. Now I can allow people to update this metadata, which will update ApplicationXtender, or maybe I just do it for view purposes. When you see me go to the next queues, you're going to see how this section here changes along with other parts. I can go down here. I can add more comments if I wish. I can also see who's added comments and what they've said. All of this information is kept and tracked inside the database, and I'll show you later is available as part of your view with ApplicationXtender. I can see the history, very granular detail about who viewed it, when they viewed it, what actions did they take. And these three tabs are right out of the box. I'll talk about that because a lot of this workflow is very point and click configurable, but also has really powerful ability for your developers to really super enhance the workflow itself. And maybe I have for this one HR checklist. I want to make sure that the person processing this actually does also this other work that is quote unquote, outside or manual work outside of the workflow itself. Once they're done, they would take an action, and we have these are the action buttons up here. They get routed, and we can put mouse overs help guide them. A lot of our workflows we roll out with 0 to very little training for the end users because it does speak to them so clearly and so easily. And once they approve it, this might go to the manager. So let's go look at the manager's queue. The manager, I come over and I see, yep, this is the one I want to work on. So I click on it to open it up. Right away, you'll see there's a couple of differences. I'm only looking at a specific document. I'm not looking at the batch of records together. You'll see here that what I can change or what fields I can edit have been changed. I also do not have a checklist here. I have the ability to also select and forward to a unique person, right? So if I wanted to, I could submit this and this would get sent over to Bill Cross. That is different than this button, which is accept, which will have conditions in there. And that might get routed to level 40 or 50, depending on the metadata or the settings inside of that. I could also send this off for signature. So you wanted to create, like, for example, with DocuSign, and then once that went over, the processing team would be waiting. We'd have a listener waiting for the record to come back in. And now that document has been returned, the processing team is waiting for it to come back. I had the signature with the envelope information. You'll see that they have a checklist also they have to perform, and it moves through. I'm going to take you to the back end a little bit and show you how easy it is to point, click, configure, but also to show you a lot of the functionality that you don't see in the front end, but that is available and very easily part of the workflow system. So you see right that you talked about the annotations. I can mark up this record as needed. Now, there's a couple of things. One, I'm sitting inside here of ApplicationXtender, but workflow doesn't have to sit inside of ApplicationXtender. We could send this over in this queue and say, hey, IT, this task is being processed through, but you're going to go through, you're going to fill out a checklist. Maybe it's a web-based form or something like that. This is a Google Sheet, right? And you'll see it's a dynamic page. Once they're done, maybe then it goes to claims processing, and they need to go look at that. Now, this is a eForm solution that we have that's available. I'll talk more about, and you'll see that it is dynamic. So as I do make changes, the form itself is changing. There's not workflow. This is not ApplicationXtender though. This is sitting outside of it. The data is tied in and the image is tied back to AX and tied to workflow, but you have the ability to dynamically make changes to the form itself. And once that form is done, then you come over and you open it up and you'll take a look and you'll see that that form is now inside here is a flattened PDF, right? And I can't make changes to it. This is now, but I have the ability to annotate it. I have the ability to continue marking my history or comments. I can put text notes on there. When it's finally done through this last step, this will be stored inside of ApplicationXtender, and there's a whole history trail, which I'm about to show you in a few minutes before we get to that point. Okay. I want to show you one more front end, talk about a few other parts that we can do for you, and then we're going to get into the back end. We'll also, like I said, take a peek over at eForms and a few other areas there. Okay. This is accounts payable. It's a little bit different user front end experience, so I thought it'd be really helpful to show this also. So if I go through here and I open up the workflow, it's going to bring me back an invoice. All right. And there's a few, you'll see right away, the this side here is different. This is a newer updated user interface and the onboarding one. And we've also created a very dynamic ability for data capture. So if I go through here, I can continue to have connections out to my database and pull back more information inside there to populate other fields. This will usually reach back into a SQL database. Along with general header information, I can use tables. This one is doing a three-way match and checking rules for approval. All this can be stored. Part of the metadata is normally stored directly inside of AX against this image, and things such as the geocodes. Sometimes people store them against AX specifically of multi-indexing. Sometimes we keep it outside of there. And then I have the standard action buttons that I was talking about, along with my ability for indexing comments and workflow history. It becomes really powerful, and one of the reasons we modify this with the latest version is that we're giving you a lot more screen availability to see that by taking the action buttons over to the side and having the tables and everything onto the right-hand side. The screens are just getting a lot wider and wider, not really taller. I talked also before about looking at the history. So as a manager or just a general user, you can go in there and say, okay, show me the document history. Who's viewed this document? What actions did they take? Were they annotating, editing? It pulls off against the SQL database that is being captured as the audit history, which is really never made upfront available to your users. So we pull out all the information to do that. We'll also bring back the workflow history. And so even after leave the workflow scenario, your auditors, your managers, your users, they need to see who reviewed it, who approved it, what steps did they take? Well, that's all being captured and inside that button also. And if there was workflow comments, they can see that. And then there's other line items, the GL code line items. These are other tabs that can be created. We have one customer who has about 8 different tabs because they're connecting to multiple databases that they want to make available to their users. One customer, for example, is using one of the tabs is required documents, and it just shows through ApplicationXtender what documents are in-house versus not in-house for that particular employee or that particular customer. Okay, so I'm going to show you one or two more things on the outside of application of workflow in AX, and then I'm going to do a deeper dive into the back end to show you that part. Because what I did discuss before was reporting. So we run reports, we use Telex Reports mostly to quickly get them up and running. This is a report that shows you all of your documents, quote unquote, that each employee should have, because you'll see that it's in AX or it's not, right? And these are all of the records. And this could be for employees or for anything else. And so if I said, well, I'm really looking forward to find out and I want to see all my I-9s that are out there. And so what's even more important to me is show me all the I-9s that are not there, right? The deficiency reports is always 1,000 times more important than what's been done correctly. So we can farm through or show you how to farm through. Notice I say the word we can show you. Our belief is to do as much of the work as you want us to do that, but to make it configurable or show you how to do this own work yourself and how to manage the process on your side. Okay. Down here is links. Now, these are different links to, you can set these up right through the administration module. Like if I wanted to say, well, I want to let people jump between workflow and ApplicationXtender, then I just give them a link and now they come to one spot, right? Or I want them to be able to go look at a purchase order e-form, right? So I want to click on that and the purchase order form shows up. Now I could start filling this out. If the vendor name, we'll just use Acme. I want to copy over the data from one side of the form to the other. If I needed to have table information in there, I can do that. And if let's do some more here. All right, you'll see that it goes through and I can fill out the rest of the information. And once I'm done, if I put sales tax in here and put that, it keeps adding up, right? Complete, this will kick off a form that gets submitted directly inside of ApplicationXtender. I'll show you what some of that looks like. I can even add attachments and how to create the e-form inside there. So the ability here to work off of to provide links that based on security rights and help drive your team to other sites and either keep it inside here or pop it out is really powerful also. Let's go take a look at the back end for workflow. All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time back here. I just really want to show you what is available or some of the functionality that it does have. And I'll push this over to give us a little more space. Let's see, which I brought up my my AP workflow. You know what? Let's do the onboarding one because that's the one we took a look at before. Let's stay with that one. Okay, so I set it up. I can just point and click and say when workflow status is a field and it was coded as new, then let's start a workflow. Then what I'll do is say, okay, well, tell me about the actual record or records, right? The doc type equals application, then I'm gonna send it to an associate. It equals last name tomorrow, then I'm gonna send an email, and I'm also going to now move that to supervisory review. But you'll see that both rules could be true. So I would have a parallel workflow. I would send it to level 10 and I'd send it to level 20 at the same time, okay? Once I get over to level 10, now I have my associate review and that was one we took a look at before. My button here is accept. When I hit accept, that means it's gonna go to the AT&T workflow queue, or if I hit pending, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my row color, I'm gonna update my status, and I'm gonna add some icons inside of there, right? If I hit the IT button, it's going to look and say, well, tell me more about that. Job code equals all those 4s and doc type equals PO. Well, then take all of these actions, send it to level 50 and 60, add some comments and send an email out. If it doesn't equal that, then we're going to send a different email out. We're going to send this over to different levels, right? And it moves through. I can even do timers, such as if it hits a certain date or a daily or monthly, then the timer will kick off. And from that timer, actions will take place. Maybe I change the document type and then I need to, or the status of the record, and I'll send an email and I might move it out of the queue because it's sat in that queue for too long. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit of a point-click configuration, right? This is social review. I determine which fields they're going to see, if they can view them or if they can edit them, if they're required. All point and click setting up for the team. If I wanted to add a button, and Janice is online with us, so we're going to say, Janice, we're always going to send this workflow to you, and I'm going to make this color red, and I'm going to give it black. I want it visible in queue. I want a preview mode and a little mouse over. Always send to Janice. I save that. Now I have my Janice button in here. Very simple as that. And I decide that I'm going to expand on this Janice button. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a condition in there. I can do an advanced condition where I could do some scripting to put inside of here, or I can do right out of the box a condition. And you see that these are drop down choices. Your programmers can create DLLs. They can create their own conditions, their own type of rules inside there, drop that into a library for workflow, and that becomes part of the drop-down menu for your analysts or your business people to put in themselves. So I'm just going to do a straight up field comparison for right now, and I'm going to say, well, if doc type equals, let's say, application, then this rule is going to have a certain events are going to occur. So let's go down to Janice, and I'm going to say, what are my rules? The first thing I want to do is I want to send this to somebody. And I'm going to stay inside HR workflow. I'm going to send it to IT review. I'm going to give them some notifications about that. I'm going to save that, all right? And then now I want to add a few more rules inside there. And I might decide that I'm going to send an email. So let me go grab send email. Send my email. Just a little note about sending emails. We can send also emails out to individuals with attachments inside there, and they can approve, reject, or take action from like your phone. So you're sitting on the beach and you're working and need to answer something, you can go inside there, or you can just do that right from here. Let's review for need quick work. So I save it, and now I have my email. So I'm building this up for actions. This is a listing of some of the other actions that are just really out of the box, right? You want to set row colors, or you want to update fields, add icons or remove icons, maybe because after a certain date, a certain amount of time, you want to say, I don't want that being represented as new document. I want to change the icon now to stale or documents in stress, right? So all of these are out of the box. And this is where another spot your programmers can easily create a program, drop the DLL into a library, and now it becomes one of the options for them to point and click and set that up. Okay. So that is creating workflows. It's very straightforward and very powerful at the same time. One more piece about the workflow I just want to talk about is creating connections to databases. You saw that like my accounts payable, I was connecting some database points. Well, we can do that also through here. So for example, let's say PO number, I want to do a lookup. I can choose against what database I'm going to do the lookup. And now I can then go map, and I could choose either show the table or merge it, that the PO is going to drive in some more data points inside there. So it becomes also very point-and-click configurable to start bringing data into the workflow task and matching up against your workflow record or records and letting that add more power and processing speed to your end users. Our customers that have working with us, they find that they're well, one of the customers, they found that they were cutting their workload down by 50%. We do scanning for them inside their shop, and by 12:30, they were calling us up, asking us to, where's the rest of the mail to be scanned? And we're like, we scanned all that we received so far, and like, it's impossible, we're done. I'm like, yes, you had the power of electronics, and you have measurements now, you have metrics against who's performing. Also, when the auditors can see exactly who processed it, when they processed it, and you have all your controls in place, both through ApplicationXtender and through workflow, it just adds a tremendous amount of power to your team and processing through. Okay. What I like to do is take you over and give you a quick view of eForms, because that's one of the other modules. So let me just step back here for a second. Workflow, eForms, and AX Record Retention are 3 separate modules, but when you buy Workflow, you get things such as the permissions report, the web capture, the user audit related docs. A lot of these other add-on values that we do provide are all included as part of the workflow. Which ones get turned on or configured is all based on you, but you have rights to all of that stuff. And then separately, people do request, say, I like to get eForms, I need record retention, I have terabytes of data, or I need to protect my records and get them removed out of there so I'm not held up for ransomware or liable for, have any liability for those records. But let's go back to eForms, okay. So if I was looking, I showed you the purchase order, so let's go take a look at the back end on how to set that up. And I'll step over here to my eForms admin, and I'll go to my purchase order, and I'll say edit. Okay. So this is the actual form itself that is point and click configurable. You'll see that a lot of the widgets are all here, so it's a matter of dragging and dropping. Right, this one is a single input versus, comments. You see uploading documents. There's even stuff such as signature pads. So if I want to drag over a signature pad and have someone sign, I can do that. If I wanted to put in a radio group button, I can do that. I come in today, it's today Monday. I can come here and fill it out, or I can fill it out directly inside of the properties. I'll show you that in a second. If I come over properties about this, I have my question, right? I'll call it it's today Monday, so I can level that out. And now I have a few things. I have a very nice designer, so if I want to change fonts or colors or modify the look and feel of the form, I can do that. I have, is it visible? Is it going to be required? Here are my choices, yes, no. I can put another one in there for maybe. This is all usually stored 2 places. One, I'll show you mapping to a database inside of AX, but also do it inside of SQL. And I just kind of work through the steps that I need to, all right? Correct answers, right? I'll say yes, and I can, once I do that, it's saved. Now, if I wanted to map over a database lookup, right? I have the same interaction that I showed before, where what's going on? You can set it up so that you can pull in data from outside sources to pre-fill the forms, or if I wanted to do mapping to like ApplicationXtender, I have my AX fields, and I just go through and I just select which of the forms that I've identified, which of the fields from that form will be mapped. So once the eForm is submitted, it gets over inside of AX, but I can also send this off to another database. So if I don't just want to have the data go inside of ApplicationXtender. For example, one customer were doing a lot of capturing client information, and later on they want to use that client information for refreshing forms. They want to recycle that data back into new forms that they're creating. That is all available and part of the power of ApplicationXtender and with our ECM Toolbox Workflow and Eforms. Nice thing about the eForms is you can also kick off a workflow, right? So when a document is arriving, you can set it up and have a status in there, call it new, and then submit it so it will go directly inside a workflow and kick off the process, right? Workflow status equals new, and now because you won't see it, your business office doesn't see the actual document arriving, it's inside of AX, but it's in your queue now, and as a manager, you see everybody that's received new tasks to be processed, new records to be processed, and you manage and store that and work through that process. So these links are all part of point and click configuration, very simple to add inside there. It's even, if you wanted to go to dragging and dropping through web-based, this has the ability to go out there to AX, take a look at some previous documents that are being worked on, and get that. Oh, I shouldn't have brought up that record. It's doing so well there. That's what I get for going off script. That is a web-based form. I guess someone's working on that, where you can drag and drop records into the web-based form to allow a more dynamic user interface to be entering information inside the system. A lot of our accounts payable are probably people using that for invoice processing, where people are receiving through their business locations, different departments are receiving invoices by the ones, and they want to allow them to drag and drop it and put in their GL codes inside there. So this is the review of a lot of functionality that we have that is built around ApplicationXtender. Somebody was asking the other day that they use multi-indexing, for example. We have tools to make that more of a stronger end user experience for your users. So anything that you're looking to increase efficiency and provide better guidance about what people are doing, and for example, multi-indexing here. Right now, when you multi-index, you can get rows and rows of records, right? I don't know if you work with that. If one document comes in and it gets 7 account numbers, it's in there 7 times. We can collapse that for them and make it easy to expand, but it's a quicker user experience. It also enhances or speeds up the actual user interface. So the timing of bringing back the query results is faster. And then their end user experiences, they're going to see 24 rows instead of like 292 rows or 500 rows because they're multi-indexed. So those are the different areas that we do help you with. We have 7 developers. Our technical help desk, support desk is 5 people with multiple account managers. We spend a lot of time helping you out with your business analysts. We do help you with design, and we'll walk you through the solution as far as you want, and then we like to hand that off and so that you can manage that yourself. Let's see how we're doing. If questions, let's check into that. Okay, someone was asking about pricing. Okay, I'll tell you. So for your own reference, workflow is $6,000 for 5 concurrent users plus 23% maintenance. The eForms is $10,000, but you get 5 workflow users with that also. The AX Record Retention is $10,000, and you also get 5 workflow users with that, and they're concurrent users, and the maintenance is at 23%. If you wanted an enterprise license for workflow, that's $100,000, and that gives you unlimited users to access the workflow and 10 concurrent users for your development environment. How long does it take to implement the workflow? Great question. So internally, we built a workflow for our accounts receivable team in 2 days. We wanted managers review invoices on the way out. And so we did that and some connections and some testing. It was up and running right away. I've had one customer who rebuilt their whole process and procedures, and really, honestly, the majority of the time was spent around just design and working with them to what does the solution need to do and how are they going to do it now differently than they were doing it before. And that took about 8 months, right? And that was a lot of database connections and just a very large project, but they understood that because they wanted to use technology to solve their operational efficiencies and audit issues, right? And so they were going, the technology was fixing what they need to get fixed, and they were very happy about that. So the time range could really depend on that solution. eForms, okay. So eForms I want to talk about just 1 second, and thank you for bringing that up. So we have three different ways I talk about eForms. One is the solution that you just see, right? And that is that's our eForm is low code. This is very basic, and you see by the pricing is very set up to get it up and have quick wins where people can be used creating eForms and managing it through. But I talked before about like that customer that's doing heavy onboarding, right? They're a bank and is outward facing to their customers and their branch reps, and they have a massive solution. So they're using Smart IQ with DocuSign along with ApplicationXtender and our workflow. And this is enterprise-wise, it's just a lot more expensive, but it's really sharp and it's a really good eForm solution. So not all eForm solutions are built the same way. And then we have other customers, and this is a really neat video. If this is for wire transfers, so you have a chance to go watch that. And we created a web-based form where steps are being put through, where we're filling out answers, guiding the users in the back office to fill out the questions, and then we're using Duo actually to call out to the customer to verify their and authenticate them as requesting the information, and that's being fed back into the form and fed back into our workflow. And we built the custom form because it was faster to build. There was no software cost to it. It gave them exactly what they need. So eForms has many different flavors to that. And we, as most things, will work with you to identify what is the solution that you need and what tools best fit your requirements and or needs. Okay. So I want to say thank you. I really appreciate your time and your consideration. Please feel free to send us emails with questions or call us up. If you want to dive deeper into any parts and have like a custom or very specific demonstration of your specific form or like workflow you want us to review and consider, send this over to us and let us take a look at it. Many times we'll quickly build out a form for you or quickly build out the start of the workflow, maybe the whole workflow, and just show you what that looks like. Until then, I hope you all have a great day, and thank you so much.
Interested in what CASO can do for you? Subscribe to our channel now and check out these videos.